G'day everybody, Tim here again for Beef It Up Australia and Let's Get Rural. We're in the beautiful little rural township of Flowerdale at the Flowerdale Hotel. We're talking to Steve. G'day Steve, how are you?
Hi matey.
Yeah, good mate.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, how long have you guys been here? You and your lovely wife Viv?
Well, Viv and I have had the hotel since 2001.
So coming on 20 years.
Yeah, December 7 we moved in. And,
December 7?
December 7, 2001. So we just celebrated another year.
Yesterday, wasn't it?
Yes, what's today, the 8th?
I think it's the 8th, so it must have been yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah.
Right. Do you know much about the history of the pub and the township?
Well, it's obviously, like most early pubs, it's been a lot of farming, a lot of logging, etc. in the early times. Coach stops, for Cobb & Co.
Yeah.
And still as today, the V-line runs through once a day.
Once a day?
Yeah, you don't get far otherwise.
So if you miss out on that first chance of jumping on the train that once a day,
that's it.
You got to walk.
You start thumbing the ride.
Yes, I heard through the histories and everything else, this used to be a spot for Ned Kelly to call into on his travels.
Well, not having been around at that time and era, but history would probably suggest he'd come through here as he would have on his rounds.
And borrow a horse.
Borrow a horse or keep in the back. Apparently Squizzy Taylor used to do the occasional stopover, but we've got a net in the corner purely just as a donation tin, a tip tin.
Yeah.
And we use that sometimes for someone in the area that may have had a misfortune, or tips for the staff, that sort of thing.
So Squizzy Taylor used to come here, did he?
Apparently he used to go to one of these sheds out the back and camp up, and he'd find a bit of currency under the doormat.
The next day?
The next morning, yeah.
Yeah.
So it goes. I don't know how true these stories are, but within a, something like that, there's always a little bit of truth.
Yeah, that's something I've seen in the histories with Ned Kelly and Squizzy Taylor. Anybody else that, in the histories of bush rangers and outlaws and crime bosses and things like that used to come past or drop
we had
in?
the old Chopper Reed come through a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit funny. Yeah, that was when he wasn't being so notorious.
Yeah.
After he'd had his young child and so forth.
So when he was a
coming
comedian?
for lunch. Yeah, when he was a comedian, yeah.
Yeah.
Got Jacko Jackson comes through occasionally and flogs memorabilia, and he's a good mate of Chopper Reed's.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So you're getting
we'll get a mix of characters, yeah.
So that's good for a place like Flowerdale and a hotel, and it's something to also bring all the community together as well, to say g'day and have a look and have a chat.
Yeah, it's all part of it, the mix and the culture of Country Hotel. Two of my locals are quite pleased to say that, you can walk in here and they'll say g'day to you rather than, stare at you as you do in some country hotels. When you walk in, they get the big stare down. They'll more or less put their hand out and greet you rather than do that. And,
well, it's always better when you walk in, somebody says, g'day mate, how you going?
You can slide right in as well. Yeah, we're just over the Great Divide, so when you come up from Melbourne and say you've used Plenty Road, which comes through Preston Reservoir, that sort of Pandura through.
I'll come out that way.
Come through that way, or you come up the Hume Highway or the Melbourne Highway.
Oh, right.
But once you come up in, say, using Plenty Road, and you get through Whittlesea and you climb up the large hill out of Whittlesea to King Lake, turn off, just over there is the Great Divide Range, so our weather can be, I'll say, a lot nicer than King Lake. Even though King Lake seems to get all the publicity, we get the better weather, so I don't mind that.
So will you take the weather over the publicity, yeah?
Bloody oath we do.
Yeah, so once you get to the top of the Great Divide, you can turn the car off and just roll down to Flowerdale?
Roll into the valley?
Yeah.
Yeah, my word.
So does it ever flood here?
No, I'll correct myself, we've had floods here. There was one time in my very first few years, I think it was about 2004, I could stand corrected, but about then. The Melbourne Highway was flooded from Yarra Glen. The Broken Road, which takes you from this area through to the Melbourne, was flooded.
Yeah.
We were flooded on the Strath Creek Flowerdale Road, and Whittlesea was getting flooded at the same time.
Right.
So we were basically like an island on that particular occasion. I've also had another occasion about 2010 after the fires, where we had a very big downpour again, and there was fellows canoeing in the main road of Flowerdale Strath Creek.
So they all got in their boats and canoes and come
Oh,
to
just a couple of crazy
Flowerdale because it was up and out of the
No,
water?
they just take the boat out and have a paddle.
Yeah, why not a bit of fishing as well?
Oh, I don't know about the fish. I think they were too busy trying to keep afloat.
So Flowerdale, I think, if I remember right, the first pastoral run around Flowerdale was around 1839. Gold Rush was, I think, around 1856, 1857.
Yeah, there's still a few remnants of that, and quite a few locals go forward driving and check out the old mine shafts, etc.
Yeah, and still pick up a bit.
I'm not sure if they're dropping anyone in there, but they could be picking up something, yeah.
You never know. If they were taking Squizzy Taylor out for a drive, they'd definitely drop somebody in there, I think.
Yes, or they might not come back to tell the story, but we wouldn't know.
Probably not the way Squizzy Taylor was. Well, he was back around the 30s.
30s, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when they were dancing to Charleston on top of the flagpole.
I don't recall that, but I'll take your word for it.
So around 1901 the pub was built.
Correct.
I think the school was built about 1896, 97.
The original school, which was not where the current school is, which is within a stone throw of here.
Yeah.
Was a bit further up the road, about another 5 k's up on the left. That got burnt down and they relocated to this area here.
Oh, so they brought it up. So that would have been around Hazeldean?
No,
area?
Hazeldean is actually a general store and was a settlement area.
Right.
There's a confusion of Hazeldean and Flowerdale. I'll refer to the fires again where there was a postcode change going on and there was quite a kerfuffle locally about where Hazeldean was. It's now become this sort of like people think it's a suburb, but it's not. It's part of Flowerdale because you'll come into Flowerdale from Whittlesea and it'll say welcome to Flowerdale, and then you'll go past the Hazeldean general store and then you come to the other end of Flowerdale, which is 7 k's later.
Oh, right. So what they've basically done is they've extended Flowerdale and sort of engulfed Hazeldean, but Hazeldean's still there.
Hazeldean was an original settlement within Flowerdale.
Oh, within Flowerdale?
Yeah, it was a farm.
So how many people in the community of Flowerdale would there be now?
I haven't got consensus numbers, but we would suggest registered people in Flowerdale would probably be around the 800 mark. 800? There was about 1,400 previous to the 09 fires, and a lot of rentals were destroyed over that time, so the rentals haven't been replaced as yet.
But you think that they'll come back?
Oh, there's no doubt. There's a definite buzz in the area now with properties around here. You put a house in the market, it goes very quickly.
So I think that would be roughly around about the second or third devastating fire around Flowerdale's affected Flowerdale, because around 1911 you said the original pub burnt down.
Yeah, I haven't got much information on that, but there was another one in about 86, which was a fairly big fire in Flowerdale.
They're pretty devastating for small communities, especially like Flowerdale and the area, because of all the devastation and loss of property and life and everything else. It's really detrimental to any community, especially battling communities like Flowerdale, Kinglake, Hazeldean and surrounding areas. And the mental health aspect that does to a place, it absolutely devastates it, doesn't it?
Oh, it's a very long-lasting effect, and personally, you deal with things differently, and everyone has their own ways of coping, etc. But the term post-traumatic is something that needs to be looked at carefully. I'm one that just, a lot of times probably been guilty of saying, "Oh, just get on with it," But I have also realised that it took a long time for me to get over quite a fair bit from the fires.
It does a bit. I mean, I suffer bad mental health issues myself, and people get there and say, just get over it, it's nothing, it's all in your head. Might be in your head, but it does a lot more damage than people think.
It takes a bit to get it out, yeah.
It does indeed. So with everything that's going on, I think it was in the last fires, what was left standing in Flowerdale with the last fires?
Okay, well obviously the hotel, thank goodness for that, and a good effort of some locals that helped on the night and the following days after to help keep surviving in the area. The community house was left, the community hall I meant to say, which is just adjacent to the hotel. Community house was destroyed, the Hazeldean store was saved, and basically a hell of a lot of homes were lost and 13 lives.
for a community that's got a lot of pride, that impacts the community a hell of a lot.
Yeah, it was like a bomb had gone off. Yeah, but you know that's over 11 years ago now, and time mends a lot of things, heals a lot, and you do move on. And again, I was quoted at one stage as saying it was a beautiful valley that will be again, and I think it's now turning to be so.
From what we've seen driving in this morning, it is a beautiful place, and coming down off the top of the hill.
Merchants and Gap. Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
They call it the Valley of a Thousand Hills because when you stop and have a look from the lookout, I don't know if you stopped and had a look.
When we got to the top and seen that there was nothing in front of us, all around across the valley, all we could see was the hills and the Great
Goosebumps, yeah. Valley of a Thousand Hills.
Valley of a Thousand Hills.
Mm.
I'm not going to get there and count them.
I'll be honest, neither have I.
Have you counted them yet?
Not at all.
You be going 1, 2, and then you get got dizzy. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you start again.
Mm.
So, what do you think the pub and the publicans offer to a community?
Well, hopefully what we've offered, we've been running the hotel since 2001, as we said earlier. A sustainable, consistent environment where people can come and they can celebrate their newborn child, or they can unfortunately celebrate the going of a loved one. From there, in between, there's birthdays and job celebrations or getting a job. Those celebrate if they just lost a job.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that, but the community just involvement of just knowing they can come here and let themselves relax for a while, and be a bit of time out from the family unit, or bring the family unit down here, as we see a fair bit with kids running, learn a bit about properties. Like might have just bought 100 acres and don't know the first thing about a blackberry, and never alone a thistle or a weed. And,
there's a few of those people around in different communities, isn't there?
Yeah, and that's again the spread of Melbourne suburbs coming out into the country to get that open space that they can't have down in the suburbs.
You think Melbourne will ever overtake Flowerdale?
We used to say that the hill stops them, but the cars are getting bigger.
Yes. And they're trying to make the hills look like a sand dune.
Yeah, the little cars that fly up those hills now do it a lot easier than they did years ago.
Yeah.
But to say that you can tell the difference we've having run the pub for nearly 2 decades. You can see the difference in the people that are the newer generation coming in now that have obviously made the change to come in and want to be part of the community. They just probably need to be educated as to what it means to do the social side of things, like the cricket club and the tennis club and social clubs there that we've got.
So you've got cricket club, the tennis club?
Yeah, fortunately the tennis club's been really strong. They've got I can't quote the amount of members that they've got personally, but my wife's very entrenched. She's president of the tennis club.
Oh, right.
They have 2 nights a week social night, and the cricket club has been struggling for the last 12 months, or well, certainly because of COVID, but previous to that, to get a team, because again, generations change, where you might have had a group of young ones coming through, well then suddenly they're adults and they've got lives of their own and they're no longer in the area, or they've moved on, or they struggle to get the numbers for the teams.
So with all the hills around here and everything else, would it be fair to say that tennis courts and the cricket ground is on an angle like that?
The tennis court probably is, but that's an advantage.
Yeah, for who?
No, they were rebuilt after the fires. The community rallied together and got some funds together and got some grants and dipped in and built a brand new 4-court tennis centre over there, and the recreation hall has just been refurbished, and
Wow.
it's cricket grounds, a bit like the human hovel.
Yeah.
It's not the human hovel, Lords of London.
Lords of London?
Yeah, the grass is beautiful. Well, it was the last time I looked anyway.
When was that?
A while back.
So a while back.
COVID changes a lot of things.
Yeah, so how is the community and yourself as publican, how has COVID and everything else, floods and fires and things, how has that affected, do you think, not only the hotel but the primary school, the hall, the general store down the road and the community?
Well, I can't speak for other people, but in a lot of ways, but in general, it's been a real trying time for a lot of people. You find that the words are "I'm over it, I'm over it, I'm over it." The mask wearing when they know there has been no cases in the area. They sort of think, well, you know, some of the legislation that was brought out has played on people's minds a bit because, you know, they think, well, I can sit down and have a beer and have a chat, have a feed, but if I stand up, I'm breaking the law and, you know, the COVID's going to jump on me because I'm standing up rather than sitting down. Little things like that played on people a fair bit. Their economies, of course, have been varied. There's one family I know that are fairly young, got 2 young kids that go to school, obviously, and they had to do homeschooling. That sounds pretty standard for a lot of people, but the trouble was they were teachers themselves at a different school. So they were doing on-screen schooling for students that they have, whilst trying to homeschool their own kids.
It would have been extremely difficult under the circumstances.
Extremely. So, you know, those sort of things are not what you read in the newspapers, but the reality is to what COVID had on the effect of lives.
In that regard, then those parents being teachers at different schools to the schools that their children went to, not only was it a challenge for them but their kids, but also they got something out of it. You could say that they got something out of it with a different aspect of the whole teaching.
Without speaking for them and themselves, I would suggest the answer would be yes. They've coped, but a couple of times you could see it obviously was a
struggle.
Challenge. We saw them over the time because of for us to manage our business with the open and shut situation, the legislation that was in and out. We would do takeaway meals, which we hadn't done before in packaged environment.
How did you go with that?
It wasn't too bad. The interesting thing was that as soon as they shut us down and said you can do takeaway meals only, we got a lot of phone calls from people that have been new to the area or hadn't necessarily come to the pub much, and they were buying the takeaways. But the moment we opened up again, it's as if they thought, oh, we can't buy takeaways. So that drops off and the other part picks up again. So it's been a real wave. But it's
like 2 sides of the same coin.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So that was different to experience.
So since that first lot of COVID shut down and the second lot of COVID shut down, did they start to realise that when you were back open, they could still get the takeaway?
Well, we tried to make that obvious, and I think the answer is yes. But it still was noticeable that it was a change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now they're going to come in for their meals.
Well, I'd like to think
they can, and
that you know, well, of course, you know, finances permitting, that they can come along and, you know, they haven't lost jobs or anything like that, which is the other factor. Once the new wave of JobKeeper change in January, February, we'll find there'll be a change in whether sustainability of keeping jobs will keep going.
Yeah, it's they really need to keep jobs, because jobs is the embattlement of any person around, keep themselves going and keep themselves thinking positive and keep themselves going forward.
Well, that became quite eminent after the 09 fires. I remember standing at one of the meetings we were having at the front of the hotel and suggesting that, you know, it's time that a few of you looked back at going to work where you can, you know, and trying to get some stability back into a very unstable situation. And, you know, I do believe that, because you're hitting it on the head. If you're a family that don't go to work and just sit at home dwindling on the situation you're in, then that's not good for you at all.
No, it's not good for your mental health. It's not good for your partners or your kids either. But I heard you say something earlier that you got spirits in here.
Oh yeah, there's brandy. There's
so yeah, any of that that's no, I can't drink that. So besides the spirits on the shelf,
well, we have a local we call Larry.
Larry.
Now, unfortunately, the brain cells don't require the get up and go that they used to have, and tell me why we called it Larry. But somehow the ghost is Larry, and we know it's a female.
A female ghost named Larry.
Yeah. And Larry just does these little odd things, and you know, it's the obvious thing. If you drop a glass, you blame Larry.
Yeah, and you don't call the taxi.
No, you call the publican and he goes crook.
You broke my favourite glass. On you, Larry. No, you can't do that.
No, we had a medium here one time who said there's been some sort of I don't know what you call it, presence, and we found that it become more obvious after that.
Yeah.
And yet I'm living here on the premises for nearly 20 years and haven't physically seen something, but there has been the odd occasion. One particular time comes to mind very early in the piece, and I realised later on, what had happened a number of years later, that there must be a jilted lover, because it was Valentine's Day 4 years apart. So it was like on a Valentine's Day on a leap year. And the first time that something happened was that I was polishing the glasses and getting ready for the night, because we had a few booked in, and we put them up in the rack. And a woman that was doing celebrancy in the area came in, and whenever she was doing a wedding, she'd come and buy a bottle of champers. So I've handed her the bottle of champers and we're having a chat. And the next minute, the rack of glasses, one of the racks, fallen off from above and smashed all the champagne glasses. Now that's coincidence, whatever, but the thing is, the screws were still in the
Still in the ceiling.
wood.
Wow. Unreal.
So that was
I'd say she was.
Then 4 years later, on the next Valentine's Day on a leap year, we had some bottles of spirits and ready to drink come off the shelf in the cool room.
Wow,
It was a
that's
his and hers mix, so it was
yeah.
a tiff.
Somebody was a bit upset, I think.
Yeah,
But yeah.
but the main two things that I recall happening are coincidence. Another one with the TV. We were talking about having had a medium here, and a local fella had said, you know, I'm really open-minded to these things, but I've never seen any proof. And at which stage the television changed channel and went to Rage, Jimmy Barnes singing "You've Lost That Loving Feeling,"
And nobody was near the remote.
and he played me, and I walked from over near the fireplace to the bar and grabbed the remote and said I didn't change it,
Yeah.
which he sort of felt a bit spooked.
Yeah, well, I'd say somebody. I'd say there might have been a lovers' tiff in here at one stage, and something happened, and for the spirits to be here.
Well, rumour had it that one of the previous cooks passed away here in the hotel, and unfortunately we lost a fella over the 09 fires, but Bob was too kind a fella to come back and give us a hard time. So he's with us a lot, but
He keeps an eye on you.
yeah.
I heard you say something before that you're looking at putting the pub on the market for sale.
Yeah, you know, there's anyone in business, I've often said, you know, people say, oh, you're selling the pub, you know, and I say, you're always in business, you're always ready for sale, and that's the way you should be. But we've put in nearly 20 years, but unfortunately, due to a health reason, I'm going to have to move on.
Well, I hope you're going to be walking around still, not just
Yeah, it's
not moving on as in the term of move on, but
yeah, it's just something I've got to come to grips with, and
health is always more important.
yeah, it's become pretty obvious. So we'll be going to market hopefully in probably mid-January or something like that.
Yeah.
Once I settle a broker on the deal and work out a strategy plan with them and that, which is going to be a huge moment, because we've been so entrenched in the place, you know.
And an integral part of the community.
Yeah,
as
we've
well.
without patting ourselves on the back, we've won quite a few Hotel Association awards, been recognised throughout the industry.
Mm-hmm.
We've won sustainability awards, Community Achievement Award, Victorian and national. We won Tourism Australia Award very back in 08, just prior to the fires, which is very similar to what you're doing today, talking about local hotels and what it means.
Yeah.
That won us an award which we weren't able, it was travel throughout Australia, which we weren't never able to take up. So next year we had the 09 fires.
Yeah, no, it's you might be able to get that under your
Under our wing.
and
Yeah.
tick it off your bucket list.
The crux of the whole lot was, or the best achievement with all was the Hotels Association the Carcass Award.
Carcass Award.
And the Carcass. Now that's the Brownlow Medal of Hospitality.
Wow.
So we got that back in 2018.
That is an achievement on its own.
1,200 people in the Crown Palladium or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And
for a small country pub in a tiny community to get that just means that
it blew us away. Quite frankly, I'm still speechless about it.
Like not only does it mean that, it means that the staff as well as yourself and your lovely wife and the patrons and everybody have put in the best possible. What is it? It's not an essay, but the best possible recommendation as to how the pub is run.
Well, it just
how the
shows
staff
and I'm not trying to beef us up to be some sort of martyr or anything super. We've just bought ourselves a job back in 2001 and worked at just trying to maintain the building to the best workability, build a business, create an environment. And I've always said I can stand on my head in the corner and look stupid and get a laugh, but it's no point doing that if you've got no one to watch you. So
that's right.
You've got to have the community around you, the patrons coming in and out. And one thing is not to put yourself into one box and just worry about locals only and not worry about the visitors, etc. that come in, because you do rely a lot on the tourism.
Community doesn't just mean people that live in the area. Community also means the travellers coming through, stopping for a quick bite to eat a beer, say good day, laughing a joke, and there you go, mate.
Yeah, which gets back to what we were saying earlier, where you can walk in here from Toorak, Melbourne, and roll up in your roller, or come in on your Harley, get off your old Trumpy, or just come in on your old F100.
And tie the push bike up out the front.
And we've had push bikes out the front too. And we've had horse rides in the area. We used to do a very big charity horse ride in the area, which supported the local school, and that'd have, well, we had one time with 100 horses out the front. So we had horsepower of every kind, motor vehicle, motor car, and horses.
Cool. That would have been fantastic to see. I've seen some of the photos of that, and I'm thinking, where'd you put them all? But I can see you've got.
I still don't know the answer to that myself, but there's plenty of room here, and it's a well-known pub. It's, as I say, close to Melbourne now, so it's,
You're getting more coming out from Melbourne to.
Yeah, she looks as old as she should do, and we've never put in the downlights or she does need a bit of a sprucing up, but then again, that's what people love about the place.
That's the whole idea of an old style country hotel. That's the charm. It's the just the feel and the atmosphere of it, and that's what draws people in.
Well, I've had young ones that have just got their licences and just getting to venture out, and they only live in Whittlesea, which is 20, 30 k's away, come in and go, wow, like they've never experienced or seen it, and yet they're on the doorstep.
Then they go into somewhere like Melbourne or a bigger town, and they walk inside the pub and they go, okay, this is different. It's not like the Flowerdale Hotel where we went. It's just walk in there and it just goes, oh.
It's like an extension to the lounge room.
It is indeed, yes.
And people go on about their man caves. Well, I've got the best man cave you could ever have.
I can see that. This is beautiful. There's just one more thing before we finish up, Steve. What does community mean to you?
Community, togetherness, working hard to achieve a goal, and friendship and bonding.
Friendship and bonding. It's the first time I've heard somebody actually say that. Friendship and bonding, because it's actually, if you don't bond with people, you don't get a friendship. Thank you very much, Steve. You're an outstanding gentleman.
Cheers.
You're welcome, mate. G'day everybody. Tim again. We're still here at the Flowerdale Hotel. And now we're talking to the lovely Viv and the lovely Ash. How are you, ladies?
Good, thank
So
you.
what'd you look surprised for?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No, I don't. You got the fact that you remembered our names quite easily.
Or was it the fact I said lovely?
Yeah, that was it.
So Steve said before that you've been here nearly 20 years.
Yep.
Where'd you come from? That's got you thinking.
We were originally brought up in Flowerdale 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes. But it was a pub that my husband said that he always wanted to have. He used to ride up here when he was 18. No, 16 was it? On his push bike.
On the push bike. I was going to say,
On
was
the
it
push
a push
bike,
bike?
yeah.
or a
And he
horse?
loved the pub, and he, for some unknown reason, said that one day he was going to have this pub.
So you got the pub?
Well, he was self-employed in another business, printing, and he'd been in that business for 16 years. And the opportunity, we'd already bought in Flowerdale, and the opportunity came up to buy the pub.
Yeah.
And so he got out of his printing business, and we got into the pub.
So do you know much of the history of the pub?
No, all I know is that she's very old, and she's done a very good job for us in the last 20 years.
1901 was when the first pub was built,
Yeah.
and Steve said it was burnt down around 1911, and a new pub was built in 1917.
I think it was further up the.
Yeah, it was just up the road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There is an old well here somewhere.
Is that?
Yeah, yeah. There's an old well, but that got filled in, so I
Not by bodies.
don't know. Who knows? You never know, do you? I'm not about to go digging it up to see.
Why not? Come on.
We do believe there's a ghost here.
Yeah, Steve said something about that, Larry.
Yeah, Larry. We call him Larry because obviously we don't know who it is.
No, it's female.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You reckon?
Female ghost.
Yeah.
Named Larry.
yeah. What makes you think it's a female ghost?
Just the feeling that I get.
Well, it's funny that you should say that. We had
Long
long story short, she came here and did a thing down in the lounge there, and she stayed in the room, and she said there was this lady ghost that kept walking up and down the steps and kept wanting to.
Yeah, no, she's
Yeah.
passed by us a few times. How long have you been here in Flowerdale?
8 years.
80 years.
80s.
80, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't look a day over 79. So where'd you come from to come down to Flowerdale?
We just came from South Marine.
South Marine?
Yeah.
How far away is that?
40 minutes.
45 minutes.
That's a long walk.
Yes. Long walk for a drink.
Yeah. And now we live here.
So do you know much about Flowerdale?
No, not really.
No?
My husband just wanted to live in a country town, and here we are.
So it's better than a bustling city.
Yes, that
Well,
is so correct.
At least with a country town and community, you know everybody bands together.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've got a problem, the first one you can call out to is members
It's
of
sort
the
of like
community.
being in Fiji, because I'm from Fiji,
Oh yeah.
and moving to Flowerdale, it was like, everyone knew everyone, and if someone needs help, everyone yells out and goes, yep,
Always.
the community is
Someone
just
loses
great.
a dog. That's it.
Yeah.
Everybody knows about it.
That's right.
So you've come from Fiji to South Marine?
Yeah.
To Flowerdale?
Yeah.
Wow. So what do you do around here? Do you help out different areas or
I'm a cook here.
you're a cook?
And you're part of the CFA, aren't you? You're a
Yeah.
CFA volunteer.
Yeah.
Do you do have a CFA here?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Wow.
Mm.
So what do you cook?
Not Indian.
Yes, we're not Indian.
Yeah, coming from Fiji, you wouldn't cook Indian food.
Yeah. No. Though she likes your hot food, don't you? Every now and
Yes.
then we put on something hot. Yeah.
Wow. I've seen on the wall you have got a plaque from the AHA, Australian Hoteliers Association. I think it was 2004 for the best Palmer.
That's right. Still the best Palmer.
Still the
Yes.
best Palmer?
Yeah.
Gotta try redback.
Yeah.
That's good.
Redback,
Yeah.
that's a spider.
That's right.
Yeah.
So they brought out a redback beer at one stage.
Yeah.
And it was, what would you serve with it? So we created the redback Palmer. It's quite
It's
nice.
very
I don't want to know
No,
the...
I'm not going to do any
Don't
details.
tell any secrets way out on that because
That's
people
right.
go, yeah.
No,
It's
it
just-
is beautiful.
Just about every local hotel that we've been to doing this has got their own signature farming.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's good for a community hotel in a small town to have
Mm,
a signature dish.
mm,
Yeah, that's awesome.
And a redback palmy
mm, mm.
with real spiders Works a treat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, looks like a spider, doesn't it, when it's finished, yeah.
Also notice that you've got two cocktails, so to speak,
Oh,
named after the pub.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, because up here can get quite cold.
They look potent.
Well, we actually originally had 3, but one of the alcoholic beverages in it you can't get anymore, so we had to put a change on it. Yeah,
Wow.
so it's
Yeah.
and Flowerdale Flocko, is it? Not
Yeah.
the feral Flocko.
Yeah, it could be feral. I don't
Yeah.
know. I haven't worked in a bar for a
I
while
don't
now.
drink them. I don't drink them,
Nah.
but it's enough to create interest when you have a outsider from Flowerdale come in and say, "Oh, what will I have to drink?"
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
I try this
that's-
Flowerdale Frost. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
So who painted the picture on the wall?
So that's Andrew
Yes.
Sibley.
I thought Ash painted it.
No.
Yeah, I'm very
No.
creative.
For Steve. Steve might have painted that.
No, there's actually another one on the other side of the wall, and that's the ladies of the lounge.
Yeah.
But his name is Andrew Sibley, and he's one of Australia's top painters. He lived up here, but he's got his paintings down in the Victorian Art Gallery and all that. So yeah, but he passed away just a couple of years ago. So.
But at least you've got something that he's done for the pub and the
Yeah,
community.
absolutely.
Yeah,
All right, just one more thing to ask you both, and I'll
Yeah.
ask you first, Viv.
Yeah.
What does community mean to you?
everything. Yeah, if you haven't got a community, it's not worth
Yes,
living here.
agreed.
Yeah?
Yeah,
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 agreed.
Agreed?
yeah.
And Ash, what does community mean to you? Coming from Fiji to South and Rangan and down to a community like this, what does community mean to you?
Same, everything, you know, everyone is there to help out.
Yeah,
And it's like, well, one of our locals, like he was sick, he was in hospital.
yeah. You rally
And,
together and yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And then there was a few of us, we went and cleaned the house so that he can come into a nice clean house. Viv and I were there too,
Mm.
just helping out wherever we can.
Mm.
And that's what community is. It's,
Yeah,
it's the
exactly.
same as the local pub.
Mm.
Yeah,
The pub's there for
That's
people
right.
to go and have a chat, a laugh, a cry, a
Yes.
joke,
absolutely.
and meet up with mates that they haven't met up and
Yeah.
meet up with, as
Yeah.
well as the publicans, and have a good laugh.
Yeah,
That's right.
that's
Right.
it.
That's nice.
Yeah.
You know, on my days off, come and sit down with the locals and have a beer or two.
Definitely.
It's always good.
Oh, thank you, ladies.
No worries.
worries.
Thank
It's
you.
good to have
Thank
a
It's a
nice chat
pleasure.
with this. Told you it wouldn't hurt.
No, you're right. You're right.
Thank you very much.
No worries
Thank
at all.
you.